last. Hello, everyone. It's Roxanne Harris here. We are at Wednesday, February the 1st. And today we're welcoming Sara Dubeau, one of my amazing friends, colleagues, wellness practitioner extraordinaire. And we're going to get into some really amazing topics today. The ever beautiful Robin Parr will not be joining us. She's got a family situation. So we'll think about her, but hey, grab yourself a mug of something yummy, cheers, whether it's water or tea, whatever you're drinking. But today, I'm a big mug freak. I love inspirational mugs. So I had to pick one today, first of all, that matched my outfit. But secondly, be bold, be brave, be you, because we're going to be spending some time talking about mindset today, because I know that Sara really has delved deep into this topic. She does a lot of great work with her clients, and it's kind of interesting. Sara was one of my people that pre-read my book, and so I was really interested to see her take on it, because she is in the health and wellness sphere, and because she does do so much with mindset. So Sara, welcome to the show, and we're so excited to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I've watched your show, I read your book, and I can't wait to chat with you about it. That's wonderful.
So yeah, like awesome. Why is mindset, like in your opinion, both professionally but personally, why is mindset so crucial? And I'm going to say especially to women's health.
Oh my goodness. I'll speak from my personal side first. So I got into this work because I was having real challenges with anxiety. I was a kid that had a lot of anxiety, and the way that I was interpreting the world was really intimidating to me. And my parents brought me to see someone, and they kind of said, you have to figure this out. And so I was 12 years old, and I went back to, okay, well, how am I seeing the world, and how can I support myself? And it kind of began from there. So, the practitioner journey really was a personal journey, curiosity to try and support myself first. And I realized since then and over the years, and continue to, the immense impact that our state of mind has on the way that we feel, both emotionally and physically, and that there's this, interrelationship between the two as well. So that, our physical state of health really does influence our mindset, and our mindset influences our state of health.
Well, and I love how you said that, actually, because I think it's under recognized in our society as a whole with our traditional healthcare system, where we really detach what's happening mentally, emotionally, and physically. Yet it's become very commonplace right now when people are being diagnosed with chronic, long-standing issues. They're immediately being put on antidepressants as like a way to manage their pain or their condition. So what are your thoughts on that?
I just encourage people to dig a little bit deeper. And that's something that you are excellent at, describing your personal process in your book and how you came to that. Usually we come to this place of like, I just don't want to feel like this anymore. And we're presented with perhaps an idea of like, here, take this medication. And for some people that might be a solution, but there's usually other influences at play. And so I think having a bit of curiosity about what else might be influencing how I'm feeling, to open yourself up to possibilities, maybe have a few conversations, and have that conversation with your girlfriends, or your partner too, and say, look, how have you dealt with this? And that's usually how it begins, right? Well, I've tried this, or I've looked into this, or I've realized that, when my blood sugar is dysregulated, my mood is really dysregulated. And so that starts to put you down a path of going, what else is at play here? And so I think that I don't want to demonize medications. There's times and places, but I also encourage people to really look at a lot of different facets in their life to see what else might be happening. And the thing is, that might be different for someone. My anxious feelings, my anxiety, the root of that might be different than yours, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's a really individualized approach with some really good foundational things to start looking at.
Yeah. I love what you said, especially when you said about the dysregulated blood sugars, because, many people have heard this hangry term, right? And at first when it came out, people kind of, maybe laughed at it a little bit, but then more and more people are realizing it's true. When we are hungry, angry, lonely, tired, called that halt position, right? That our mood goes a little bit crazy, right? Our blood sugars go off and we act irrationally in so many ways. And then we justify it. Oh, I was hormonal. I was emotional. I was, whatever, instead of looking at, in that case, the root. No, your blood sugars were off. You needed to eat, girl, because, going too long without food can create a problem in many people.
Yeah. Yeah. Which isn't an antidepressant deficiency. So that isn't the solution in that case, right?
I love that. An antidepressant deficiency. I, use this all of the time as well. Like, if you're using Tylenol for pain, right? Do you really have a Tylenol deficiency? Like, what is causing it? And can you look at the possibility of other things that are going on? And so thanks everyone for joining us. Today we have Sara Dubeau, the amazing natural wellness practitioner. We're talking about mood and mindset and all of the good things that make women women. But sometimes we don't look deep enough and look at what else could be causing what's going on. And, we're not anti-medicine, but we are pro you. We are pro you taking responsibility for your life, for your health, and really asking some deeper questions that might give you better answers. And I know that as women, we don't like to ask ourselves deep questions because we don't necessarily love the answer up as to what is really going on in the situation, instead of just passing it off as hormones or, a lack of sleep. Obviously, those things are at play. But when we're looking at how we allow ourselves to show up in the world, we do have to, I think, look really deep. We know who we are, first of all, but yet we allow these other factors to come in and influence us in a very strong way, and often cases in a very negative way, right? And so, if we allow our mindset to go amok and our emotions to derail and to sit in that place, we're not going to feel great. Every moment of every day has potential to be awesome and amazing. We have to allow it. So, Sara, what are some of the tips or tricks or things that you utilize yourself or with your clients on how do we snap out of that stinking thinking or that rabbit hole we go down?
A few different ones. So first you have to even have an awareness that you are having the type of thought. So I have people have check-ins with themselves, right? To have a pause and be like, I'm feeling this way. Is it because the physical things we were talking about? I haven't had anything to drink. I haven't had anything to eat. Maybe I haven't moved. Movement for me has always been an immense support for my mental health and my mindset. So if I'm
Yes.
feeling stagnant, sometimes what I need is actually to move. And then I'm going to feel a little bit more responsive. It actually shifts my mind, you know?
Yeah.
And on the contrary, if I've been stuck, finding myself stuck, and I find that an interesting word to use too, because it's usually like I'm too busy and I'm stuck.
Mm.
We need to kind of see, where am I perpetuating this and not allowing myself to rest? So there's the opposite side of that. If I'm feeling frustrated all the time, I need to kind of consider, where am I running myself down, or allowing myself to have obligations that I somehow agreed to, that I feel resentful over.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so sometimes what I'll go through with clients is I'll look at, what is your day? How many of these things are things that you feel enlivened by and excited by? How much of your life are things that
Mm.
you're choosing, emphatically? How many things are things that you're doing out of a perceived obligation? Perceived? And, what's within my ability to change, and what do I need to accept? So,
Yes.
for this period of time. So even taking an inventory, we start to realize, what am I choosing? How am
Yeah.
I showing up? So sometimes that practice is really important.
There's like about a million piggybacks that we can go off of that.
I
And
know.
that's why I love you so much, because, you really don't mince words. And it's one of the things, when we're looking for a good friend, right? Why are y'all talking to your friend that's at the same level, or, maybe at a lower functioning state than you? Maybe they've, just been having a really, really rough year and they're struggling to, get it together. And then you're laying
Mhm.
your stuff on top of them and asking them for, an unbiased, opinion, or, a truth bomb when they're not able to give it. And,
Mhm.
we all have, that one or two or maybe three girlfriends, that, I'm going to use the word vibrate, right? They vibrate at a higher level, meaning that they don't generally let life get them down. I mean, they do, but they're quick to pick themselves back up.
Mhm.
They can see beyond their own circumstance and really be present with you, hear you. You know that they're hearing you, but kind of, deliver that dagger, right?
With
Right to
love.
the heart. Make you laugh before they slice and dice you and tell you, girl, like, get over yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And I like to think or believe that Sarah's one of those people in my life, because she doesn't mince her words or dice her words. It's straight up. I have another friend, Yetta, and I tell the story, in my book, where, many years ago, I was kind of the woe is me, look at how crippled I am and I can't move like you. And my, life is hard. And she just kind of like, and then just kind of smacked me, figuratively speaking, and said, like, what is your problem? Like, you have it better than so many people. There are people, that are born without arms and legs, like,
Mhm.
girl, get it together. And, many women, I think, they would look at a comment like that and feel very hurt and insulted. However, if your girlfriends are not big enough to tell you that, then are they really your friend? Are they really supporting you and encouraging you on your health journey? Right?
Mhm.
Because, the reason that we don't see healing is we don't seek it, and we're getting partial truths and half answers and just the status quo. We don't have those people in our life that are causing us, as Sarah said, to dig deeper and get to the root of actually what is going on and where your mindset needs to shift. We all know
Mhm.
who we are. Like, fundamentally, once upon a time, you, as that little 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 year old girl, knew who you were. And somewhere along the line, we lost that sense. And then we had a whole group of our friends and our family massaging us into someone we weren't. And the whole time we have this inner dichotomy about, I'm not living alive. I'm not living my best life. I'm not showing up as me. I have obligations. I have this perceived notion that I'm supposed to show up, right? And so, like really, how do we get to, I'm going to say, the root of who we are? And I just want to read this briefly because I, thought, there's so many really cool nuggets that I share in this book. But, sometimes I go back and read, and I'm like, well, that's really amazing. Anyways, but it says, it's startling to realize that the biggest thing holding us back from living the life we want is our own mind and our own limiting beliefs about who we are.
Huge,
right?
Yeah.
We all have belief systems. The problem is most of our belief systems are total BS. So I want you, like, literally from this moment on, anytime you hear belief system, it's BS. Because there's probably a truth that you're not digging down and drilling into, and it's a lie that you're telling yourself. Anyways, belief systems generally are nothing but lies and convolutions of the truth. Along the way, we've adopted our belief systems based on our interpretation of previous experiences and how people have treated us. These interpretations may or may not be truthful, yet we hold on to them as gospel, and they continue to impact us negatively, tainting our view of ourselves, our capabilities, and limiting our ability to achieve the state of health and life we desire. Limiting beliefs are roadblocks convincing us that we can't or shouldn't be doing something, that we are not good enough, smart enough, brave enough, pretty enough. Empowered living is knowing that we are enough. Showing up alive in our radiant enoughness is what will set the world ablaze. And so we've got these belief systems. And as a health practitioner, as a wellness practitioner, we're constantly bumping up against these limiting belief systems about who we are, where we're going, how do we show up as our most authentic selves, because that's where we're going to find our joy.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how you picked out interpretation. So it's our interpretation of situations we've been in, not actual fact necessarily. It's simply how we've made the story or meaning about it. And often it's quite emotional, and maybe it isn't, we aren't able to really synthesize what's true about it in the moment. And usually we're in a survival situation and we have to adapt. And so we make a story about that. And then we look outside of ourselves to confirm that over and over and over. So pattern interruptions is so important for changing mindset. Or
so give an example of a good pattern interrupt that women can literally program themselves to do.
Oh, a few. Like sometimes I'll use aroma to stop myself in the moment, and that kind of gives me the pause to ask, is this true? And or whose voice is this? Right? Where did this come from? So that gives me the moment. I'll give you an example with a client where she's working on establishing a new health regimen, and she starts and she stops and she starts and she stops. And in our consult, she was saying, like, I don't keep promises to myself. And I asked her, I was like, is that actually true? And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, you've shown up for every single consult you've ever booked with me. You've also shown up in this way in your business because you're excited about it. You've also, so we started listing examples of where that was contrary to the belief that she had. And she's been working on that. She's like, wow, maybe that's not exactly true. That's not something I need to adopt or wear or have a belief about myself. So just even that, saying, is there evidence to the contrary? Because sometimes you have to actually seek it out. Because often when we have a belief, it blocks everything else out. It's harder to see. So we have to be intentional about saying, hey, actually, that's not true. That's just a story. What's actually true? Yeah.
I love that, to really look at that and identify, is this really true? Like, is it really, really true? Because a lot of women in our hurt, our immediate gut response is, of course it's true, right? But then when we look at it in that impartial way of seeing, that separation, because we know that every emotion is based on a past experience. Sounds like, looks like, feels like, tastes like. We get an emotional response or a rush of feelings based on that. And so it's very hard to be impartial in situations that sound like, look like, feel like, etc., because this little voice is like, but, right, danger, or you're being attacked, or you're being belittled, or you should be angry, instead of going, well, actually, no, this isn't really impacting me in that way. And so that pause is beautiful.
It's a response versus a reaction then. Right?
Well, yeah, because people, and I'll just put in one more little, tidbit. We think that our mood is our emotions, and it's not, right? Our mood is actually our response to those emotions that are coming up. You choose that, because I'll tell you all day, every day, any mother knows this. Let's say you're at home and one of your kids, boots the other kid. They just give them a real swift kick. I almost guarantee that your response is 1,000,000% different than if you're sitting in the middle of a church service during prayer time. I promise you it's different, right? And so please do not confuse the two. Our emotions can come up, but we don't have to respond to them. We don't have to allow them to make or break our day, to shift our energy. We don't even need to allow a horrible situation. I don't know, maybe the dog puked all over your floor this morning as you were late, trying to run out the door, as your phone's ringing, and your, toddler's running out on the road. Well, why are you going to use that, right, and have that destroy your day, rather than going, well, that was an interesting morning. And then, going and making a snow angel, right? Doing something physical to completely shift and rewire the thought process.
Yeah, you reframed it. You're like, how do I want to feel in this situation? What is the downstream of this that I want to go into my day with, right? We can be a cascade, a snowball effect through your entire day.
And the reframing, I love that, because it's not a tool that many women are gifted at doing.
No, and I'll just go back to what I was saying before about the questioning. So if you're having challenges with that yourself, or seeing it clearly, that's where that really trusted friend is so essential for you. Someone that you can say, am I seeing this clearly? Right? What do you see? What do you hear when I'm saying this? Can you please be my sounding board, my mirror? And that's why what you were mentioning before about who you choose to have in your circle is so important, because they are constantly mirroring to you. And they are going to be the ones that will call your BS. Right?
Well, you know what? And we see this in relationships. So whether it's with girlfriends, whether it's with business partners, or whether it's with our spouses, that many people carry those limitations, those reactions, those responses, those belief systems. And instead of looking at it as a completely different relationship, we will actually put a cloudy lens on and feed everything through it. So maybe you got, unfortunately, divorced and that relationship ended, right? But you enter into a new relationship, you get remarried, and suddenly you're assessing your new husband, your new spouse, through the same lens that you did your old, and that's completely unfair, right? But we do that on these limiting belief systems, on sounds like, looks like. Well, it's not sounds like, looks like. It's a different person entirely, right? And so these pattern interrupts, or these refocusing, reframing that you mentioned, is really, I think, is crucial. One of the things I love to do is to move your body. because it's very difficult to stay in a low, grumpy, depressed, woe is me mood if you're not slumping around or laying in your bed or sitting on the couch, right? But if you get up and you put on some rock and music from the 80s, 80s music rocks, right? And you dance around, right? Everything shifts because now you're in a different state.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think too, when we're talking about being intentional about what the state that we're choosing, recognizing that the well-worn patterns we have to actually work sometimes at creating new ones. So
Yes.
creating that new association may take some time. It may feel a little unfamiliar or a
Mhm.
little bit forced initially, but the more that you do that, you create, the neuroplasticity, the change in the way that you see the world. So something too, I'll say, when you do have a good state, when you're in a moment where you're pausing, even slowing down, I think is allowing us to really take in the goodness that's around us, because we're often just speeding through, or we don't lend it significance. We tend to lend negative perception of things a greater amount of significance, and we bypass the good. And so we need to actually be intentional about saying, hey, like that was really nice, even the smaller moments, because it's like creating a file folder in your brain going, hey, that's important. I'm going to look for that more. I'm going to
Yeah.
seek that out more. Right.
Yeah. And that's great. And Robin mentioned that last week about kind of challenging yourself to, look for the good in every day and take a picture of it. Right. And if you do this, especially with a spouse or your kids or even a girlfriend, where at the end of the day, you have to share that photo and why was it good?
Such a great
But
idea.
it is a great idea. And what happens is you actually start one-upping, right? And now you're trying to always look for the
That's
better.
perfect for you. Your
Yes.
competitive spirit, competitive with yourself even.
Competitive with myself. I got to find something better. I got to find something better.
This is going to be the best.
But, we really are, this combination of past experiences that really try and, eat us up, because we tend to look for similar experiences. Even if they're not optimal experiences, they're also a familiar emotional home.
Mm-hmm.
And so rather than, choosing to live in joy, there's a familiarity with how we've been living. And it really causes us to not show up as the best version of ourselves.
Yeah, I see that in the people that I work with, but I see it in myself even over the last couple of years. So finding myself in a particular cycle, recognizing it. And I don't know that awareness is always the key. You have to put action to your awareness to actually change something. And so I think what happens, a lot of people, myself included, have been here where I'm going, I know that I do this. I know that, this way of working or this way of interacting or this way that I fill my day isn't serving me. And sometimes you can get into these boxes, the limiting beliefs about like, there's no way out of this. And so to kind of say, what if, or what else is possible, kind of gives you a door out. And then you have to have faith or trust in yourself or courage to just step, because it's so easy when it's familiar, even if it's painful, even if it's hard. So a lot of times it's that awareness to decision that you were talking about in your book too. It's a decision that you make to honor yourself, right? You don't waver on that when you've made a concrete devotion to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very different.
Well, and I love that because, it is in the decision. You're choosing to show up, right? In peace, in hope, in joy, in love. It's a choice. It's not a mood. Like choosing to show up is not a mood. And some people, I think, choose to show up when the mood suits them versus
motivation.
Yeah. Well, I've seen a lot recently because, we just had like New Year's and people want to do all of these great things, self-improvement wise for the new year. And somehow we think it's like a temporary thing, like it's a point in time. Well, why would you only want to up level your life for 2 weeks or 30 days or 3 months? And so I've seen a lot of people saying, phew, well, that's done. Like, I worked out every day and I, did meditation and I drank the water and I ate a salad every day and did all these things, for 30 days. But now I'm going to give that a break. Why? Right? Because you just have this beautiful routine of loving yourself and serving yourself and showing up. Why do you need a break from being the better, new, improved version of yourself?
I think that what comes with that has to be the decision and a fundamental change in how you view yourself. So sometimes it's like, I try this on and it doesn't quite fit, or you haven't quite imagined. I think that's where our creative imagination is so important, to envision it and redesign our life to suit it. Because sometimes we're like, well, I'll stick to this and then I'll construct some things within this life or how I view myself. And it's hard to maintain. It's an acceptance that you are fundamentally changing, right?
And I love that, because you're right. We look in the mirror and we see whatever we see, and we beat ourselves up and we nitpick about ourselves, instead of seeing ourselves in the lens of our future self or potential or possibility or what could be. And we've all heard stories of people that have, imagined something, and every day they actively go there and they're imagining this shift or this change. So whether it's, freedom from an illness or a diagnosis, they're imagining the cancer cells, being blasted, right? Or, they imagine that, they own a house on a beach somewhere, and then it happens. Well, because in that imagination, in that dreaming, right, they're making little 2 millimeter shifts that's allowing that expansiveness to come into their reality, into their world. But if you just chop the dream off at the knees, it's going to remain a dream and it's never going to enter into reality.
And looking at taking stock of values is such a big one.
Yes.
Sometimes we speak values but we don't act the values. And so really looking at, is there a coherence and alignment between these? Or, I hear a lot of, I have to do, like when I'm giving guidance, I have to do this, rather than I'm the type of person that's choosing to do this.
Yes.
Is a very different, because I value feeling well. Therefore, I'm the type of person that makes sure that I have food in my fridge that's going to nourish me. And I'm going to choose to do the extra work to prepare a meal, knowing that I'm fed properly and I know what's in that meal. But saying I have to make a meal because Roxanne told me to isn't the same as owning it, like claiming it as yours, as part of your life. What you're doing.
Well, and I like to use the words, I get to. I get to work out today. I get to eat a salad, right? I get to drink whatever 2 liters or 3 liters or 4 liters of water. But when we put that have to, it's almost like post-traumatic stress from being a child, when your mother's like, you have to clean your room, or, you have to walk the dog, or like whatever it is. But that have to puts an external pressure and a greater internal pressure. And then suddenly we don't like it. Right? I get to go on a walk today. Right? And then imagine how much even more powerful that would be if we changed instead of I have to I get to, and then, I want to. I want to eat a salad today. I want to work out. I want to go for a walk. It's a mindset that feels different in your core.
Which is something that starts with repetition. So consistency. And I know this is always a word that people feel strained of, discipline, right? So not imposed on you, but you bringing yourself to something consistently, it becomes something that you actually crave. It's something that you actually feel a desire for. So it doesn't feel limiting anymore. It feels like something that is a part of your life. And it's really important to make that change and to sort of accept the response, like you were mentioning before. How do you feel about responsibility? Where do you think we're feeling so challenged around claiming
Yeah.
what we can have ownership over for ourselves, for our life?
Well, so true. And discipline is not a dirty word. Discipline means that it's something that you do, that you're creating a habit that even on the days that you don't want to, you get up and do it because it's part of who you are. And so I'm going to just throw this out there and I'm going to say that most of you are disciplined, whether you think so or not. You get up and you do pretty much the same routine every day. You're disciplined enough to brush your teeth. You're disciplined enough to comb your hair and to get dressed. Hey, you're even disciplined enough to like drive your kids to school or take yourself to work. So we have discipline, but somehow when it relates to our health or our mindset or showing up as the best version of ourselves, we get all weirded out by that and be like, don't tell me what to do. And it's like, well, then who's going to? Like, you have to do it, right? Like, you need to show up and make those choices. And so you can choose to do things that tear you down and leave you, crying under your blankets all day long. Or you can choose to be like, hey, this is ridiculous. Like, let's get up and let's call a friend and let's go out or go for a walk or, do a dance or, watch something that makes me laugh. But you get to do those things.
I was thinking like, oftentimes we like say we have our intentions or expectations of what we want to do, but we don't plan for the hiccups. We don't plan for the obstacles and how we would like to respond to those obstacles if they came up. So you could have a goal or a desire to drink more water, but if you're not helping yourself by bringing a bottle with you to ensure that you have it, then you're setting yourself up for failure and reinforcing, I can't do this. And so part of that responsibility and discipline is even looking at the strategic part of it and going, okay, well, if I'm eating this way and I'm going out to a friend's place and they don't really eat that way, then I need to be prepared and bring my own things so I have something to eat.
Oh, I love that.
And share and encourage other people.
Right, because here's the thing, I wrote about it in my book, and a lot of what I wrote about on that topic actually was removed in the editing process. And the developmental editor in particular strongly disliked that section of my book.
And
that
conversation with you.
The comment was really like, don't you think you're being too harsh? And I'm like, no. Because I can tell you from personal experience and experience of hundreds of clients, right? The social pressure to conform to what everyone else is doing is huge. And what you don't like my cooking and you don't want to go out with us and what you think you're too good to have like, French fries or poutine, like the weird comments that people make. And so I love the potluck, just put it in your spirit everywhere I go, right? I'm just bringing something that I know I can eat. And in my experience, that's the first dish that's always gone.
And gives people an option of something else that they can try. So they don't have to try it, but if they want to try it, maybe that's the first time they're experiencing, a gluten-free something, right? And you can share a little bit more about that. It's funny how even in the editing process, there was this like, ooh, don't go too strong on the truth. You might push them away. And it kind of comes back to what we were saying about if you really care about someone, and if people are opening your book, they really want to know what you think. They don't want to half know what you think.
Yeah.
They want to say, if I was sitting with you in your office, what would you tell me?
Yeah.
What would you truly tell me?
I don't mince words. Some people don't like that and they think it's harsh, but I'll go and say it again. We don't tend to see healing because we don't seek it. Health, we want to soft serve health. And I promise you, health is not a soft serve. Like health isn't difficult. It's not hard, but it is the consistency of the choices that you make. It's not part-time. You can't just eat, a side salad once a week and say, look, I'm healthy. Why are you lying to yourself? right? And we do this all the time. I laughed when you said about, carrying a water bottle, because too many people, too many women actually walk around with water bottles that they never drink. And yet they tell me they're drinking the water, and they don't, because it's still just as full at the end of the day as when they filled it up at 7 a.m.
So in that case, it being honest with yourself and saying, I'm not drinking it. So what is it that I really need to drink this bottle of water? Do I need a reminder on my phone? Because I'm pretty sure most people are pretty close to their phone.
Yeah.
Right? So it'll ding off. Okay. Until I start to adopt this as a natural way for me to be, maybe I need a little bit of positive reinforcement around that, a little bit of encouragement, because it might not be natural for you at first.
Yeah.
Until you get into that rhythm. It's creating a new rhythm in our lives, I think.
Yes. Well, and one of the interesting things, as you know, Sarah, as you're aware, I spent most of 2021, 2022 doing every Tony Robbins event, like known to man, spending a ridiculous amount of finances to up-level myself, my skill set, my mindset, see what he's doing to help shift people. And one of the most challenging things was for people to drink their water. We know that water not only is hydrating, but it's full of oxygen and it wakes up your brain. Sometimes when you're feeling tired, you don't need coffee, you need water. Right? And so, can you imagine, every few minutes, at least, 3, 4, 5 times an hour, Tony would grab his water bottle and say, take a drink of water. And if you weren't drinking water, he's like, hey, you're not, like Roxanne, Sarah, you're not drinking your water. Drink your water, right? They want to encourage that behavior because it's things that we're not taught,
right?
And so carrying the water bottle doesn't mean you're hydrated. Wearing the running shoes doesn't mean you're fit, right? Wearing the yoga pants doesn't mean that you're working out. We really have to get to the point where, we're doing the actions that are going to give us the results. It's very discouraging to keep telling people, I'm trying to lose weight. I'm trying to change my mindset. I'm trying to go to bed earlier, but your actions don't follow through. There has to be actions to the desire. I tried it and it didn't work. But in an entire month, if you only got to bed before 10 o'clock twice, you didn't try it at all. Right?
It didn't happen for me. Kind of waiting for your life to change to allow you to do things versus the influence that you have around creating it.
And it goes to the beginning where you said, you ask women to take stock of, what do you do in a day, right? How much of that is priority? How much of that is things that you think you have to do? What's your perspective? And what are the things that you can just throw out? There's a book that I think it's got to be at least 15 years old by now. It's called 1 Month to Live. Chris and Carrie Shook are the authors. And it's one of those really cool, read, 2 or 3 pages in a day. And then it gives you thought-provoking questions to think about. And the whole premise of the book is, after sitting with thousands of people that were unfortunately on their deathbeds, what do people regret and how do they wish their life would have changed? And nobody says, I really wish I would have worked harder. I really wish I would have went to more meetings. I really wish I would have driven my kids around more, right? People don't say that. But the premise is, why are you waiting for 1 month to live before changing your life and developing the life, creating the beautiful life that you want to live? So if you only had 30 days to live, what would you immediately change? And then why are you not changing that now?
I can say that for myself, I had a moment where I had to ask myself, what am I doing with my life? And is this how I want it to be? And unfortunately, it came as a way to help and encourage me towards what I'd always wanted. And I think you can sometimes, unfortunately, come to that crucial crossroads. Hopefully you make that choice before you're in that dire situation of health or mental health or uncertainty, but it's an opportunity to really look at it, like you're saying, and going, what matters to me?
Yeah.
What really matters to me? Because it is a finite amount of time that we're here, and you want to be able to live that as full as you possibly can and
Yeah.
touch as many lives positively in your community as you can, and possibly create something, write a book that goes out to a number of people to have them think differently, and that also asks really thought-provoking questions after every chapter.
Yeah.
And we're here for a reason, and we
Mhm.
all have a gift, and if we're on the wrong path, we don't get to fulfill that. And so sometimes we're
Yes.
booted a little bit to look at and take stock so that we can make that better choice and get
Well,
back
and I
on.
like that. I mean, I personally believe we get one go around. If you're someone who believes that you get multiple go arounds, here's the truth bomb. Ready? This is your go around this time. Why would you not live a beautiful, amazing, awesomely fantastic life? Like, I think we really have to, address that. What's missing in your life, right? How do you need to be more creative? How do you need to show up in order to feel pleasure in your day, in order to feel like you're living a fulfilled life, in order to laugh, smile, feel joy, feel hope in your life? So
Mhm.
I'll do a last thought. Maybe, you never know, we might go on, but every woman is a warrior at heart. And I do truly believe this, because if you've ever seen a mama, protect her babies, that woman, is a force to be reckoned with, which usually will take out any man, right? Like they're wild. So every woman, I watched this amazing movie. Guys, you got to watch it. I was on a plane recently, and there's a movie out called The Woman King. Okay.
Interesting.
So it's not just the king, it's the woman king. And it's about a tribe who has these women warriors, and it's absolutely fantastically done. You got to watch it. But a warrior knows exactly what she wants and exactly how to get it. We have been led to believe that a woman is not powerful or in charge of her own body and mind. We have been told that we don't know what we want or what is good for us, and that we need someone else to tell us what is best for our life. Unfortunately, this mindset often leads a woman astray and pushes her further away from her desires and pleasure altogether. No one else knows what you want or what is best for you. We can support one another's dreams and desires, but we each need to have our own dreams and live our own life. Engage with your inner warrior to rediscover the passionate, radiant, powerful woman that you are. A woman who stands up for herself, defends herself, loves lavishly, flirts with life, laughs uncontrollably, and seizes every moment to live out loud and claim the goodness of the day, is the audacious woman who will rupture the limiting barriers and expand into her destiny, fully alive and full of vitality.
Mhm. Mhm.
Cool.
Even that could take us on a whole other conversation and tangent. That's
It's really endless, because the whole concept is really not discussed, right? Your doctors are not bringing this to your forefront, generally speaking. And I was very blessed to have one of my amazing clients refer me to this outstanding osteopath, and we have those conversations. There's a 45-minute conversation or appointment where we know that we lodge trauma in our body. And when Faisal's working on various things, he'll be like, what are you thinking right now? And I'm like, this is so random and so strange. And he's like, no,
no, it's
it's
not.
not. It's not random. And when we start talking about it, right, really, he's challenging that mindset, right?
Mhm.
Who are you? because you're not
Mhm.
that, right? You're not what happened to you. You're not your history. And I did, a post on Facebook about this recently, where I really talked about, you are not your history. Your future is not written. Why are you letting, a comment, a look, a situation, a circumstance, define the rest of your life, when you know it's not you, when you know it's not true, and you know that that person, it's old news. Like, why are you like resurrecting this dead, grumpy, sad, miserable, whatever person all the time? Choose to live your life. Ladies, I'm just going to say, it's okay to be like, you know what? I'm not going to be a witch with a capital B today. Even though I'm entitled, right? Even though all this horrible stuff just happened, I'm going to choose to be happy today. I'm going to choose to be
Mhm.
grateful and thankful today. And I think it's a really good posture.
Oh my goodness, there's a million things I could go with, but I don't know that we have time. Oh,
Well, so last thoughts, Sarah.
oh my goodness. To summarize, I think that again, if you're finding yourself in these challenges, just even go back through and make some notes on this conversation as a starting point and explore and have curiosity. And perhaps it's something that you can bring to with a trusted friend that you have and say, hey, have you ever thought about how this might influence us? And begin the conversations too. Because what I found really powerful in your book too is owning our history as it happened, but that doesn't
Mhm.
mean that it goes forward, like you were saying, but also not hiding it and not having shame around the things that have happened. And I think sometimes bringing that into the light and sharing that with people that we trust allows us to kind of put it to rest. Because a lot of times it's the things, like you said, that we hold or we pack away that
Yeah.
really brings so much pain to our life and repetition of that. And
Yeah.
so we need to bravely look at those things and acknowledge them and leave them where they are so they can actually be processed and we can move forward.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, uh, bold question. What, and answer however you like, but we read a couple of things from my book, Audaciously Alive. What kind of woman, what type of woman would benefit from reading this in your like professional experience, or yeah.
Hmm. I think that someone coming to it saying, "There's gotta be more."
Mm,
I think that a lot of people, they already have an inkling that there has to be more than what perhaps they've been shown or know,
yeah.
and they have a curiosity and have a willingness to step outside of the conventional to explore that. So they're generally someone who's at least inquisitive. And I
Hmm.
think someone who has a sense of witnessing the world and saying, we are actually holistic beings. We do have bodies that need tending to, and we do have soul spirit that need tending to. And therefore, my well-being likely is going to, and how I treat myself and how I care for myself is going to have multiple levels to that. And I think the woman that's going to love your book is the one that has been sitting with that question but hasn't had direction, and you've
Hmm.
laid it out so beautifully in um, a lovingly firm way around, like, don't let yourself wiggle out of this. Like,
Yes.
sit with this, look at this, and see where you can make changes in these areas. Start somewhere and ask for help. And
Yes.
so I think a lot of women could really benefit from that because they also get amazing pep talks and good questions through it as well. So if you're someone that really likes to contemplate and be reflective, I think they're going to love that too. And
Yeah.
you set a high bar and a vision for, don't let yourself out of this. You're amazing. You're a cheerleader as well. You're like a coach and a cheerleader and someone who's like already been a leader and walked the path. So it's an
Yeah.
amazing, amazing book for
Yeah.
people.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, we all need cheerleaders. We talked about that in the very beginning. So, I just pray that each and every woman, you find your cheerleader or your cheerleaders. Maybe you have a whole
Mhm.
team of cheerleaders, and, looking forward to doing some of that in the very near future. And maybe Sara will, facilitate or be a part of that.
I would
But
love
really
to.
looking at women's, right, retreats where we're learning the lifestyle, learning the mindset, learning how, we can and that we are more than enough, and embodying that so that when we leave that time together, that we can do it. We have the skill set, we have the tools, but we also have a community of cheerleaders that we can call upon. And it's huge.
Huge. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So thank you so much, Sara. It's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
I'll have to have
Always
you
a
again.
pleasure. That was a lot of fun. I really appreciate the invitation. And Roxanne and I can talk for hours, and we definitely get each other going. So it's just so nice to be able to share that in this format. And I'm so thrilled with your book. And I'm so glad that it's a gift in the world, as are you. So thank you so much. All right.
Have an amazingly beautiful day, Sara.
Thank you. Everyone take care.
All right. Bye-bye.